welcome to another FasTrax Support FasTrax Solutions webinar. This is Carl Jordan. I'll be your host this week while we talk about more Control Center. Today we're going to get into AdPro, our built-in graphic design solution that's built into our Control Center for digital signage. To get started, I'm going to log in with my user login. If you have any questions about the way this works, we have a previous webinar on the Control Center in general. And if you are already one of our customers for digital signage, then you will have an email with instructions on how to do this as well. Oh, good. I do remember my password. All right, this is the dashboard. We've covered a lot of this already in Control Center, so I'm going to skip. One of the things I do want to point out is this includes in your dashboard overview if you have devices offline and if you have any promotions that are ending in the next 2 weeks. And as we can see on this account, we do have some promotions that are coming up to an end soon. So this would be an excellent opportunity to go into AdPro and make some new images to put into those promotional slots for when those end. There are a couple of ways to get to AdPro. On the left in the navigation menu, we can select AdPro and then My Designs. This takes us to a full list of your designs in your library of all different shapes and sizes. You can also filter to the specific size that you need for whichever design or whichever display layout you're using, and it will show you just the designs that are that size. And you can choose that way to go straight into AdPro and begin editing one. Or as with any list view in Control Center, you can hit the Create New Design at the top. So double clicking on any of these in my library or Create New Design and then choosing a size, either of those will take me into AdPro. But I'm going to show you the more common way of getting into AdPro. And that is on the navigation menu, we're going to go back into Signage at the top and then Displays. And we're going to go straight into editing one of our displays. I have a display called Test AdPro Full that we're going to play with today. I click on that display in the list and I go to Content, and we can see this is board 1. This is my content most of the time. This is using a slideshow in part of my layout, and then the other tiles, rather than being product items for a menu style layout for that layout choice, I'm using the one that uses the blue AdPro tiles in my layout. So all of these are static AdPro images. These are all AdPro designs that have been made and saved for these sizes and then assigned to this layout. From any of these, we can click on Choose Design to pick a different one, or Edit Selected Design, which will take us straight into AdPro. What we want to do today, though, is look at board 2. Board 2 I've set to be a full screen AdPro design, and we're going to switch to that board 2 at certain times of the day. So in this case, we're going to create a breakfast menu. So I'm going to go to board 2. I'm going to choose this layout, which is a full screen AdPro layout. And I'm going to click on Choose Design. It will give me my library again of all of the AdPro designs that we already have that are the right size, and I can choose one of those. But I'm going to hit Create New Design, and we're going to call it Breakfast Test Menu so that I don't mix this up with my real menus. All right. And as soon as I hit OK, it takes us into AdPro. This is the same place we would be taken if we had clicked on Edit Design from any of those previous AdPro tiles. This is AdPro. This is our built-in graphic design software. I want to take a second to talk about the tools along the left. Starting at the top, we have templates. And these are going to show you any built-in templates that we have already created for you for this specific size. Bear in mind, as soon as we open AdPro, it already knows what size image. Because we opened it from the display, it knows what size image we're trying to create. And it has our workspace already set to that size image for the display layout that we chose. When we hit templates, the same thing happens. It's filtered to only the templates that we have available for that size. So if you hit templates on yours and you only see one or two in this list instead of a continuous list like what we have here, it's probably because you're not in the full screen size. We have far more templates that we've created for the more common full screen layout. So what we could do today is start with a breakfast menu template like this, and then we can go in and edit individual tiles or individual layers within our layout. If you want to replace this with your logo, we simply select it and hit the delete button, and that logo is gone. We can then add yours. We'll get to how you can upload your logo in just a second. This also lets you manipulate individual layers of text. So if you wanted to change just the price, you can do that. If you know you already serve a double egg and cheese sandwich and you want to change it to your price, you can keep as much of this menu as you want, or you can edit as much as you want. In fact, we could simply remove all of the individual layers from this menu and start with just a blank background. You have as much freedom or control as you want to change these things individually. What we're going to do today, though, is not start with a template. We're going to move from that top selection on the left down to the bottom, not counting animations. So animations, if you do have a specific layer that you want to make it dance around or do some sort of a small animation, that's what this animations tool is going to let you do. This is something that we've been playing around with for a long time that should be available in the live site very soon if you don't have it already. This lets you do stuff like sliding in from the left, sliding in and spinning into place from the left, slide in from the right, sliding in up and sliding in down into the place that you wanted on your layout. So by using this, we can create a small animation that happens let's say this is saved as a GIF file. When you export the design, then you can have animation built into it as part of a slide. When you have it in your scheduler. So when it switches to this, there will be a little bit of animation that occurs to draw your viewer's eye to it. That's what the animation tool does. So kind of neat. I don't see it used very often. We're going to go to backgrounds. This is where I really want to start. So if we did not want to use this template and to simply replace all of these individual layers, then we could use the backgrounds to start at the ground of our template. We can replace that gradient that's in the back with something more suited to your store's color scheme. But most importantly, we can use that as our layer that we build on. I'm going to pause this recording for just a second while I delete these layers and get back to just a background. All right. For those of you interested in how I quickly delete all of the layers from my projects, which is not something that comes up very often, there's a little up arrow down here in the bottom left corner of the workspace that gives us our layer panel. This shows us all the layers in our work. And on each layer, as we add them, there's going to be the options to move them around in layer order, where the ones towards the bottom are towards the back of our workspace, and the ones moving up towards the top are in front of them. So if you have two layers that overlap, you can move them around here to put the one on top that you want above the others. There's also a little trash can icon on each one, and that's what I did. I just went through clicking about 30 little trash cans and deleted all my layers. All right, so back to our project. I have a background that I like. Let's see if I can find one I like more. That's pretty nice. I like these colors. All right. So starting from the bottom, I choose a background layer. Then I can go to my uploads. If there's anything you specifically want to include, you can upload those images yourself. You can also upload your own logos and branding to an upload folder right here in the upload section. To do that, you would pick the folder you want to put it in. And once you're in that folder, there is an area called Drop Files here to upload. You can open a folder on your computer and literally drag and drop files into this spot, and they should show up in your uploads workspace. And if they don't show up, it'll give you some sort of message, like if you're over a size limit, for example. If you're trying to put an image that is set for a print resolution into a display, you probably don't need an image that big, because print resolution is usually something like 300 pixels per inch, and your TV screen is only like 72. So this doesn't require it to be a huge high definition print quality image. Just something that would be high definition on a television. So there's not a lot of branding and logos that we are going to include with our software by default. And there are a few reasons for that, but the number one reason is that, I guess a legal reason, that we are not going to include any trademarked images in a software that we sell. But you are able to use your uploads tool to upload those trademarked images and logos yourself. If you want to share promotions for any of the things you sell, you are able to do that as a retailer for those products. Also, you can contact your distributor or the manufacturer themselves to see if they have any promotional material or logos that they can give you for advertising the products of theirs that you are selling, or the promotions of theirs that they are running. And they'll usually have some promotional material already made up that you can just plug directly into this. So after we have some uploads that we want to use, we can move on to the kind of text. The next tab up is text. We can choose a basic font and double click on one of these to add that to our workspace. Or we can drag and drop any of these specific fonts to our workspace. Once you have it in your workspace, you can manipulate it using the tools across the top. Anytime you have a layer selected in your workspace, this top bar in your workspace is going to be specific to the type of layer that you have selected. So in this case, because we are on a text layer, we have a text toolbar that has stuff like bold, italics, italicize, underline. You can set justification. In this case, that's not going to do anything because we have one word. Let's go ahead and edit our text. You can choose a different font here from a drop-down. You can also choose a different color. I know it's hard to see when you first add your text to your workspace because the color is black on black, but there is a colored square here that when you choose it, it lets you pick a different color for your text. And if we unhighlight, we see that that text turns red. But only the highlighted text is affected. So we have to highlight it in order to change its color. A couple more things I want to talk about for layers real quick while we edit this. We're going to make this breakfast menu. We're also going to underline. And down here at the bottom of the screen, we're going to turn on snap, which will allow, when we're moving around our layers, it will allow little guidelines to show up that it snaps to tell us when we are, for example, centered on the screen, like so. It will also snap to specific increments along the screen. So halfway down, you see it snaps again. So we're going to snap it up here at the top. Once a layer exists, you can also align with the snap tool. You can align other layers to that layer. And you'll see those lines show up as you start moving stuff around. The next tool on the left I want to talk about is add layers. This is where you're going to do most of your work. The different layer types are image, which has lots of subcategories. Today we're going to focus on food in the image category, I believe. You also have shapes, starburst, arrows, signs. It has a lot of subcategories as well. Feel free to play around with this and look through the library to find what works for you. And icons. This allows you to add stuff like your little social media icons along the bottom of the screen to remind people that you have a presence on social media. Credit card icons to show payment options, if that's the sort of advertisement you're making. All right, so we are going with shapes. We're going to start with this solid color square. Oh, that's not a solid color square, is it? We're going to start with this, just kidding, this solid color square. This is going to be very similar to the menu that we saw earlier, where we have a square in the background that we set all of our prices and descriptions on. And like I said, this, because I have snap turned on, it should give us a little guideline when we reach a specific part of the screen. So what we're looking for is we want to center it on the right half of the screen for this box. I think that's pretty close. I'm going to change the color of my box. I'm going to fill it with a, say a yellow color. I heard somewhere that people buy things when they see the color yellow. You can do your own research to decide how accurate that is. I'm trying to find a yellow that works well with this breakfast menu blue. That's pretty nice, nice subtle yellow. And then on top of that, I want to add my text. But first I'm going to look for some images and see what I want to do with images in my space. And then I'm going to fill in my text around that. So in image food, I'm going to look for some of the breakfast images that seem to fit the kind of stuff I'm going to be selling on my breakfast deli counter. Anything that you see in here with a white background is most likely a PNG image that has a transparent background. And what that means is when you drag it into your workspace, you will have just the picture of the product itself and not a white square around it. PNG is the only image type that supports that. So when you're doing searches online for the images you want to use and uploading them to your uploads folder, if you don't want it to have a background or a white square around it, make sure you look for a PNG with a transparent background. And if you're looking at it in a Google image search results, you can always tell the transparent backgrounds because they color them as a checkerboard, a gray and white checkerboard background. So if you see an image, a PNG image on a Google image search with a checkerboard background, that is a transparent background. This guy looks good. Let's start with this guy. Nice big biscuit with, looks like ham, egg, and cheese. We're going to resize it, obviously, because this is going to probably be more of our screen than our customers can stand. Anytime you are sizing, here's another pro tip. You can hold down the Shift button when you're dragging on those corner blue dots. And holding down the Shift button will maintain the aspect ratio so it doesn't get squished or skewed. If you don't hold down Shift, it's very easy to end up with something that doesn't look like a biscuit anymore. But by holding down the Shift button, it automatically sticks to the aspect ratio that you started with. That means no matter how much you move it up and down or left and right, it will move in the other dimension as well to maintain the same shape. Let's go ahead and grab a couple of more of these that look like breakfast. And another thing to keep in mind now that I've reshaped one of these images, there's an important thing I did accidentally. I selected a different layer. So let's talk about how we can, now that that breakfast menu logo is up there and I know it's exactly where I want it, we can come in here to the layer panel and we can lock that so that I can't accidentally select and move that guy anymore. I'm going to do the same thing with this shape layer, and I'll lock that as well so that I can't accidentally move it around. All right, because I resized my biscuit, any of these other images that I'm dropping in here, I'm probably also going to want to resize just so that everything looks proportional. And again, I'm being careful which ones I choose because if I use one that has a background on it, like this guy, then I have to take that into consideration when I'm putting it into my workspace. So we're putting this into the corner. If I were putting this into the corner of my workspace, that doesn't look so bad because it looks like it goes off screen. And obviously I wouldn't want something to be sitting behind it. I could sit this here so that I'm showing a half of a sandwich, and I could use my image layer. Let's see, which one is this? This is image 2. Let's move that down to be my bottom image, and then I can take my shape layer and move it up, and it covers up the part of that image that overlaps by putting it above it in my layer panel. That's kind of cute. Oh no, I don't know what I just did, but we'll put it back. And this is a much tastier looking croissant. Wow. I think that's happening because of the browser I'm in. All right, so let's add some bacon. Everyone loves bacon. And again, these don't have to be straight. I can also turn these so that they stick out from behind another layer, like so. That's kind of fun. All right. All right, so let's talk about what we put into our text layer over there. We know this is a breakfast menu and we have several options pictured, so now let's tell people about our options. Ah. Oh, I double-clicked and added 2 of them. Let's get rid of that extra one. There we go. All right. So what do we want to talk about? We have, how about oh, I did it again. I double-clicked. All right. Spell croissant like crescent? I think that's right. We're going to pretend that's right today. And as I was saying before, when you have any of your text layers as your layer that's selected, you have text editing options up here at the top of the screen that lets me do stuff like text spacing, right and left, or letter height. This is going to let me spread them out a little better. That looks good. And in fact, this choose bread might be bigger than I need. So let's make this smaller. Let's make it a lot smaller. Nope, too much. Oh, underline. We can right click and we have some additional options. This is another place where we can move things forward or backwards in our layer panel, in our layer view, so that we put other stuff in front of it or behind it. We can also send it all the way to the front or all the way to the back of our layers if we want to make sure that the new thing we added goes in the background. We can also use this to duplicate layer or duplicate in front, which then allows us to move it around. We can use this to right-click and delete or lock layers as well. So we're going to duplicate layer, and then we're going to move that guy down. Choose protein. That stuff could mean more than just meat. And there. And that gave us a red line to let us line it up with the center of the image above us. Now I'm going to start editing the text. And because I copied that previous layer, that also maintains things like my text spacing that I had chosen. And then we're going to add some price. So let's go with a starburst shape to stand out. And in this case, I don't mind if it sticks out over the edges of my workspace a little bit. That kind of looks good. I like it. Makes it jump more. Let's give it a better color. let's say maybe a deep gold. We can also change the opacity. So if you want to lighten it up a little bit so that you can see where it overlaps in the background, you can do that with the opacity tool. You can also change the stroke, which is the outline. So you can make the stroke invisible if you don't want to have this black border around it, or you can change the color of the border to match the blue of our menu text up above. I'm going to try that for now. Now let's go back to our add text and let's give it a price. Oh, I did it again. I double clicked. I have to get out of the habit. Not big enough. Still not big enough. Better. Let's make it bold. Let's make it italic. I would just touch the text and get all of you. All right. We could add additional text to say things like the price of adding extra toppings along the bottom. We could add coffee images and coffee prices. You can add whatever you need to this to make it look the way that you want. But here is a very basic breakfast menu on a color scheme that works for my store, using images that look like what I'm selling in my deli. So I'm going to go ahead and save this breakfast test menu. We have a couple of options up here at the top. We do have auto save turned on, so it is saving our progress as we go in case anything happens, like a computer crashes. We have save design. We have save and close, which will save the design and take us back out to that list view. And then we have save as new. And the important thing about save as new is it would let you, if you've made major changes to an existing design, you can save that with an entirely different name instead of overriding your existing design. So you can hang on to that old one in case you want to use it again next month or next season, next time you get a specific product in. Save as new lets you edit one without losing it. So today we're going to save design, which saves it and leaves us in AdPro. Save successful. And we're going to talk about some of these other options. We have an export option. This first export lets us export it directly to our advertisements library. And as you might remember from the previous digital signage demo, the advertisements library is where we pull from to create a slideshow for promotional slides. This would let us save directly there and give it a name. We also have export as file. Export as file lets us export it as a PNG, a JPEG, which is probably the most compact image size, or a PDF. You can actually download this directly to your computer as a PDF if you want to give it to someone for print media. That's the most common print media image type. This would open a download directly in your browser. So this lets us choose where we want to download it to. All right. We have saved our design. So I can, if I want to make any other changes, like it looks like there's a little bit of text that's poking out back there, probably from one of those times I double-clicked something. If we want to find that little bit of text that's hanging out and delete that little piece up there and then save it again, we certainly can. Oh, I can't seem to select it. What is that? It's like a little Z. Oh, there it is. No, that's not it either. Oh, it's in our bacon. That's weird. Okay. Well, in that case, let's just hide that. There we go. All right. The other option would have been to delete it and add the bacon again to get rid of however that artifact got duplicated into that layer. And it looked like an N turned on its side, so it probably happened before I rotated the bacon. It just grabbed a piece of a layer that I must have accidentally tied to it. All right. Anyway, so let's go ahead and save and close. It's kind of a blank space there in that menu, and it makes me want to add like a cup of coffee or something. So maybe that'd be a good idea for next time. So save and close takes us back to our list view with a list of my designs. When we entered AdPro, it did it as a second tab. Not sure if you noticed up at the top. I know I forgot to mention it. So we're going to just close that second tab, and that takes us back to our first tab where we were creating that design. And now that we're done, it's going to reload that list. And the problem is I have quite a lot of designs. So let's find our new one. Here it is. All right, so for board 2, I now have this static image that we've created in AdPro. The next step would be to go into day part, where you can set that board, as we talked about in the previous digital signage webinar. You can set that board to a specific time of day. You can then copy that to multiple different days of the week. We're going to, there we go. Yes, copy. And now every day from 6 to 11, it's going to switch to our board 2 and show us this breakfast menu. And then when it's not 6 to 11, it'll go back to red, which is board 1, the default. It'll go back to our default menu. Always make sure you save at the top when you make big changes to your display like this. We're going to save display, and that's it. We're done. If you guys have any questions, feel free to contact us at FasTrax Solutions. Again, my name is Carl Jordan. I'm sure if you are one of our digital signage customers, I've probably spoken to you. If you have any other questions about this, let us know, and stay tuned for the next digital signage webinar. Thanks. Have a good day.